There is a specific kind of silence that falls over a room when a map is unrolled. The silence of lines being drawn that will turn into walls. Imagine looking at a bustling neighborhood, families, bakeries, street corners where children play, and seeing only a problem that needs to be erased. This is the story of a man who looked at the most chaotic, vibrant city on earth and decided it was too messy. He didn't own a gun, he didn't command an army, wasn't even elected, yet with the stroke of a pen, he displaced 250,000 people. He destroyed more homes than most wars. The terrifying part isn't that he did it. The terrifying part is that you are likely living in the world he designed, right now, without even knowing his name. Who decides where you're allowed to go? His name was Robert Moses. For 40 years, he was the master builder of New York, a title that sounds heroic until you understand the cost. While presidents came and went, Moses stayed. He held 12 different government titles simultaneously, creating a fortress of bureaucratic power that made him untouchable. This isn't just history. If you've ever sat in traffic on a highway that cuts a city in half, or wondered why the poorest neighborhoods are always next to the loudest roads, you are looking at his legacy. He invented the modern urban landscape. He taught the world that the fastest way to build the future is to pave over the past. It started with a beach. In the 1920s, Moses wanted to give the public access to the ocean. It sounds noble. He built Jones Beach, a masterpiece of public engineering. But there was a catch. He reportedly built bridges over the parkways too low for buses to pass under. This meant that only people who owned cars, wealthier, whiter demographics, could reach the water, or were filtered out concrete arches. By the 1950s, his ambition had hardened. He turned his eyes to the city itself. He proposed the Cross Bronx Expressway. To build it, he didn't go around the neighborhoods, he went through them. He declared entire communities slums to justify their destruction. He gave families 90 days to leave the only homes they had ever known. This is where the story shifts, because for decades, nobody stopped. The press lauded him as a visionary. He was the man who got things done. Then came the Triborough Bridge Authority. Moses wrote legislation himself, created a legal entity that could issue its own bonds, collect its own tolls, and operate outside the control of the city or the state. He had created a government within a government. He had built a machine that ran on quarters tossed into toll baskets, giving him infinite money to build whatever he wanted, wherever he wanted. Let's look at the numbers, because the scale is difficult to comprehend without. Between 1924 and 1968, Robert Moses built 627 miles of parkways and highways, constructed 13 bridges, and created 658 playgrounds. But the ledger has a red side. Credible estimates suggest his projects displaced at least 250,000 people. That in perspective, that is the entire population of Buffalo, New York. We also have documentation regarding the Lincoln Center. To build this cultural hub, Moses utilized Title I of the Housing Act in 1949. He seized 18 blocks of the San Juan Hill neighborhood, a vibrant, largely African-American and Puerto Rican community, and leveled it. Families were promised relocation. Records show that thousands were simply scattered, their community erased from the map. It is easy to paint Moses as a villain, caricature of power. History is rarely that simple. Defenders of his legacy argue that New York was dying, choking on its own density, unable to accommodate the rise of the automobile. They argue that without his highways, the city would have economically collapsed in the 20th century. Is progress worth the price? Some urban planners contend that someone had to make the hard choices. If you want to make an omelet, the saying goes, you have to break some eggs. The gap in our understanding lies in the alternatives. We don't know what New York would look like if a more democratic path had been taken. We know he diverted money away from public transit to fund highways. We cannot say for certain if the subway system would have thrived without him, or if the car culture of America was an inevitable tidal wave no one could have stopped. Forget concrete for a moment. Think about Tuesday morning when the letter arrived. For the residents of East Tremont, the destruction of their world didn't happen with a bang. It happened with a notice. One woman described sitting in her kitchen, listening to the sound of the building next door being torn apart, crushing sound of bricks, screaming of metal. She knew her turn was next. These weren't just apartments, they were networks of survival. Grandmothers watched children, neighbors shared food. When the wrecking balls swung, they didn't just break walls, they severed human connections that had taken generations to grow. When the highway was finished, people who stayed were left living in the shadow of a fume-choked canyon. Property values plummeted. Neighborhood, sliced in half by an asphalt trench, began to die. Moses didn't just move, he broke the spirit of the place. We often think of cities as organic things, forests that grow wild. Robert Moses reminds us that cities are actually machines, programmed by the people who build them. He represents the ultimate danger of the master builder mindset, the belief that one person, if they are smart enough, knows better than the millions of people actually living there. This matters because the Moses logic is still running in the background of our world. When a tech CEO decides how we communicate, or an algorithm decides which news we see, they are the new master builders. They are drawing lines on a map we can't see, directing traffic in our minds. Moses proved that if you make the system complicated enough, you can hide a dictatorship inside a democracy. You can rule a city without ever asking for a vote. So we know he built the infrastructure. We know he destroyed the neighborhoods. We know he amassed power through the authority. There's one more thing we haven't talked about yet: the moment the spell broke. Because even the most dangerous man in America eventually met a force he couldn't bulldoze. Today, we are living in the after-Moses era. Cities around the world are facing a choice regarding his legacy. We will likely see a wave of highway removal. Cities like Rochester and Syracuse are already tearing down the roads that cut through their centers, trying to stitch the urban fabric back together. The battle shifts to the digital. The physical highways are set in stone. The new infrastructure is digital. The fight for net neutrality or against algorithmic bias is the exact same fight Jane Jacobs picked with Moses, just on a different battlefield. If we don't learn from the concrete, we are doomed to repeat it in code. Robert Moses died in 1981. His power is gone, but his concrete remains. It is heavy, it is gray, and it is permanent. He showed us that the most dangerous power isn't the one that points a weapon at you. It's the one that decides where the road goes and simply expects you to get out of the way. If this story of invisible power and erased people stayed with you, there is another place where the lines on the map don't just control you, they delete you entirely. In the next video, we step inside one of the world's most secret prison systems, a place erased from official records, where thousands are held without names, trials, or proof they ever existed.